Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this Air France message. Your journey to France begins when you set foot on the plane, starting with a complimentary glass of champagne in every class. Now available in La Première and coming this November in Business Cabin, savor the tastes and flavors of an exclusive menu created by our new Michelin-starred French chef, Daniel Boulou, aboard our flights departing the U.S. Enjoy an exquisite taste of France before you arrive. Bon appétit! Elegance is a journey. Air France.
And I'm happier that way. I always have that, you have that worry that they're in the back of their head thinking, who this guy? Like, this guy just kind of glomming on or, being one of those hangers on or, those sycophantic sort of people. I think of the Chris Farley show on SNL when he interviewed Paul McCartney. If you don't know what this sketch is, look it up. Farley looks at McCartney and goes, remember that time you were in the Beatles? That was awesome. And then just freezes. I feel like that sometimes. Let's go to Stephen Nash. Maurice said the Pens play less stretch. Muse said they got spread out. Oh, yes. Actually, Steve, that is a great combination there. I can tell you're reading our coverage on Pittsburgh hockey now. Yeah, Paul Maurice before the Tuesday game, like Tuesday morning, said, "Look, the Penguins are playing much tighter, the less stretch in their game," and he was complimenting Dan Muse on Tuesday night. 1 week hence. Yeah, Dan Muse said, "Yeah, we got spread out there in the second period. We weren't connected." Now, here's Steve's question. Are the struggles vestiges of old habits? Sullivan liked to stretch more, right? Makes me think the good play is sustainable. Yeah, there's no reason they can't play well. They might not win as many games in the next 10-game segment. They probably will not. Because to keep up a 700 winning percentage, you'd better be a darn good team. Great team, actually. Look, they had a really bad game against Philly. The travel schedule, the schedule really it's been funky. I mean, you fly to Florida for one game. What the heck is that about? You come home, you play one game, you're back on the road. Even though Philadelphia is like a 30-minute flight, it's still, you're just out of your routine. You're in the second of back-to-backs. Yeah, I think the Penguins certainly could use some off days here really soon. And yes, I think playing better actually should be expected going forward. Logan Cranky. Dan, do you think they let Pickering Brunick another game to see if they can continue their chemistry like they had in preseason? I don't think they actually, Logan, I don't think they had a lot of chemistry in preseason. Pickering played in preseason, sort of like how he played Tuesday night, very quietly. I differ with the organization on if that's good enough. Somebody in the organization said to me about Owen Pickering. So I said, listen, I thought he was fine in preseason. And they said, yeah, but fine isn't good enough. It's like, okay. I kind of disagree with that. I think Pickering is the kind of guy who has to play fine for quite a while, and you trust him to have the hunger, the desire, and the ability to then build upon fine. The alternative can be Harrison Brunick, who is in complete trouble now because he's been trying to be more than fine. I guess going from juniors or the minors to the NHL as a 19-year-old, 20, 21-year-old, it just ain't easy. A lot of head games, a lot of learning and maturation. You see why a lot of defensemen don't come up until they're 23. Give me 1 second here. I need to do something. I'm having a little bit of a sinus thing. Hopefully you couldn't hear that. Okay, Drizzy. Do you see GMs approaching the trade deadline differently this year? The Penguins will have 4 to 5 trade candidates that most contending teams will want. Will Kyle Dubas be reluctant to move pieces until they are out of the mix? That is a billion-dollar question. Jason Mackey sort of asked me similar last night. I was on the Fan, 93.7 The Fan, following the game. And he asked me that sort of question. And my answer is going to be a bit nuanced. If they're, let's say, in the second wild card seed and they don't look commanding, right? Like they don't really have a chance to win a playoff series. You're like, oh, this, if the Eastern Conference stinks and the Penguins are the least of the stinky, trades are possible. If the Penguins are in a playoff spot and looking good, I do think that Kyle Dubas keeps players. I don't know how, unless you got one of those offers, one of those sky-high price tag offers, you would have to have a rookie pushing a vet out of a spot to make that trade. Let's just say Koivunen starts putting it together. He had a decent third period Tuesday against Philadelphia. He finally looked like himself a bit after really riding the struggle bus for the last 5 periods and the first 2 games of the season. I thought Koivunen, and he knew it too. He kind of like, yeah, I'm glad you noticed. Thank you. He didn't say that, but you know how people react when you notice something good that they're kind of proud of too. You'd have to have that sort of situation. Now, don't forget, Justin Brazeau is on a 2-year deal. Parker Wotherspoon is on a 2-year, $1 million per year deal. So it's not like he has to trade those guys either. It bears watching, and I suspect that you might disagree with Kyle Dubas. This is going to be an emotional decision if the Penguins keep it up and stay in contention. Going to be very emotional, I think, on the part of fans. I think it'll be emotional on the part of the team. I think if they're in a playoff spot and Kyle Dubas says, hey, Sid, we're going to trade Rickard Rakell, I don't think Sidney Crosby would say, hey, great, whatever you think, Kyle. There is, there's a little bit of an aspect there. Now, like I said, if the Penguins are the least stinky team, I have seen general managers do that, where they said, listen, we weren't in contention. We might have been in a playoff spot. We weren't in contention. I think, what was it, Boston? I know Calgary has done that in past years. That's definitely happened a few times where a team's surprised and their GM still wasn't sold on them and made significant trades. Let's go back to Steve here. If Brunick goes back to juniors, based on what we have seen of Clifton and Dumba, the big winner here could be Jack St. Ivany. I thought Dumba had a rough go to start Monday. He hasn't played a lot. He keeps taking these minor penalties, which I suppose is indicative of some struggles. I don't worry about him because he was so good in camp and preseason. And I think he'll be fine with more playing time. But you're right. If they don't pick it up, Clifton was sort of I hate to say this. He was messy. I'll say it that way. Clifton was messy. I get why people were down on him. Let me roll through some questions here, rapid fire, to catch up. David Knight, then they should send Letang back to juniors. He looks lost also. Come on, guys. Let's. Letang actually was not good Tuesday. He was really good. Really good on Monday. Hey, Dan, great to see you again. This is from Pogon43. I don't know what the heck that's all about. Hey, Dan, great to see you again. Kindle obviously just played his 9th game and is now essentially on the chopping block. What will the third line become if he's dropped down to the Q? He actually would go to the WHL. Yeah, he's a WHL product. He's not a Q. If Kindle goes back, whoo boy, the third line would be Koivunen, Novak, and Tomasino. That I do not think is an NHL quality line. At that point, if Kindle goes back, I believe you'd see Tristan Brose called up. I think you would have to see Tristan Brose called up to take that third line center spot. But I don't think Kindle is going back. You might see him get scratched more, but I don't think he's going back. Gable Fisk, any update on the sale? Rumor has it the Hoffmans are undercapitalized, which was always my suspicion. Yeah, listen, we talked about this back in August, September when the story broke. I looked at their financials as much as I could publicly get a look at, and I said, I don't know that they can afford this. They certainly cannot. I shouldn't say they cannot. Nobody wants to buy a hockey team with 13,000 fans in the building, with Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang still on the payroll. Also, let me pull back the curtain on part of my job. I think this was, I found this a little bit amusing in a dark way. You all remember the story I did about a month ago in which I really laid out the land around PPG Paints Arena and the Penguins' exclusive development rights. Every politician in the city was willing to talk to me for that. Oh my gosh, the bell went out. I was working on the story, and I talked to no less than 3 politicians. I talked to the SEA, the Sports Exhibition Authority. They called me back. Like, everybody was ready to pick up the phone and talk to Dan Kingerski. Well, the deadline comes. It's looking like the Penguins aren't going to file an extension, which would have cost them a couple $1 million to maintain development rights on the land. Nobody would call me back. Nobody would respond to me because there was no more political fight. It was over, and the Penguins basically said, fine, you want the land? Here, you take it and try to develop it. Go ahead. That land was part of the $1.75 million price tag. Now that a good chunk of it is no longer under Penguins' control, I have to wonder, there are 2 things at play here. Okay? Gary Bettman has a firm hand on the NHL. Elliot Friedman has very subtly hinted at this, without saying it, that FSG has sort of been chafed a few times. Over what, I don't know. But they've been taken aback by Bettman's control and maybe some of the other powerful owners who can sort of make decisions or set guidelines, rules, unwritten rules, so to speak, that they can't break. I think that's been a little bit of a burr in their saddle. But without all of that land, how much was that worth in the sale? Now, I mean, obviously, the valuation, the price tag on the Penguins comes way down. Is it $100 million? $200? $300 million. When I first started that story last month, somebody had told me fully developed that land was worth $800 million. Now, that was on the city's side of the street. They're like, oh, all that land. That to me sounded high to the point of preposterous. So I didn't put that in the story because it didn't sit right with me. Like, sure, if they maxed out the fullest potential of the land and it becomes the land of milk and honey and they become the neighborhood in the city and everybody's happy and money's flowing, like it's the 1940s, well, maybe sure. But, cities project like that because it benefits them. In reality, I think, $100 or $200 million fully developed. Now we start getting into a situation in which the NHL does not want teams to sell for less than 1.5. And why is that? Because the NHL is holding up some billionaires for every nickel to expand. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. The NHL can't have a team selling for 1.3 billion, and then turn around and tell investors in Atlanta, Houston, wherever else people are trying to put a team, back in Arizona, good grief. Let that one go already, would you? The NHL can't turn around to those people and say, give us 1.8 billion, 2 billion. They'd have no reason. They would just simply walk over, knock on the Anaheim Ducks door. Hey, can we buy your team for 1.3 billion? And be done with it. And take the team out of Anaheim and drop them in Houston. So there is that sort of consideration too. The fact that we're at the end of October and the sale is not done does, Gable, to your point, this was my suspicion too. Yeah, they're worth $2 billion, according to Forbes magazine. So many little companies, Elmer's Chocolates, that has a nice little regional footprint, but not a lot of little companies. It begins to be very difficult. And I will tell you this from firsthand experience. When we were going through the valuation process and thinking about working with venture capitalists and all of that with the Hockey Now network, I could show X amount of income. Let's just say in 2022, I could show on the network about 900.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this Air France message. Your journey to France begins when you set foot on the plane, starting with a complimentary glass of champagne in every class. Now available in La Première and coming this November in Business Cabin, savor the tastes and flavors of an exclusive menu created by our new Michelin-starred French chef, Daniel Boulou, aboard our flights departing the U.S. Enjoy an exquisite taste of France before you arrive. Bon appétit! Elegance is a journey. Air France.
$100,000 of income. Were we worth, and other media outlets had recently sold for a multiple of 1.5. So I'm like, well, cool. I am worth 1.4 million, right? I'm worth, okay, worst case scenario, 1-for-1 multiple, we're worth, $1 million. And the venture capitalist very quickly said, no, you're not. Because essentially what you are 12 or 14 different websites. This year, they all did good. Can you promise that they'll all do as well next year? What if somebody leaves? Somebody quits? What happens? What happens if this income source dips? Now everything is, and actually that's what did happen to us. By 2024, our income was down 40%, despite the fact our readership was up because a couple of revenue streams dried up. And the venture capitalist called it. And I got quite the education through that process. And I tell you all of that to really explain to you what it means to own 100 businesses that equal $2 billion in value, But maybe the banks and lenders are like, well, yeah, but we don't want 100 different little companies. We want one company that's worth $2 billion. So I don't know what's going on with the sale. It has been very easy to connect the dots, though, hasn't it? This is exactly kind of what I said back in August, and I said this about Mario's group, and I said this about the Hoffmans right away. It just didn't sit right with me. Now, there are people who still tell me that the sale will be done in a month, happen in November or December. Sure. Where there's a will, there's always a way. I worry about the Hoffmans being able to absorb the financial pain of what comes next. Because if the Penguins miss the playoffs again and again, which a rebuilding team often does, right? Will they say, oh, crap, hey, Kyle, we need money. Go make the playoffs. And Kyle Dubas is put into a position where he has to trade Ben Kindle for veteran help to make the playoffs. We've seen that kind of crap happen. We've seen it with the Pirates. We've seen it with other hockey teams where the ownership is like, we need to make the playoffs and sell off good young players. Boy, I said I wasn't going to give a 20-minute answer. I lied. Okay, Driz is back. The question becomes, what will Brunik learn in juniors, if anything? Maybe he stays and plays 50 games and learns from better coaching and is available if and when trades go down. Well, no, you still look. Junior hockey is not a waste of time. It's not the NHL. It's not the AHL. He has to, if he goes back to juniors, what he'll be working on is the pro game, moving the puck quicker, not skating around guys. Like, even though he can, he'll have to challenge himself not to. And he'll have to challenge himself to dominate, get his feet moving. Driz, this is one thing that Ben Kindle just impressed the hell out of everybody by doing. The Penguins told him back in July. I mean, I've talked with people in the organization. Ben Kindle had an awful rookie camp in July. He looked like a bona fide bust and mistake. I mean, he truly, I can say that now. I think I was much kinder back in July. I called him a project and said, he has to work on this or that. It took him about 30 seconds to figure out what the Penguins were telling him. And the Penguins told him, hey, you're not a bad skater. You have to move your feet. Always. Always, always, always. You can't glide anywhere. If the puck is 3 steps away, you need to take those 4 steps. Feet moving, feet moving, feet moving. And he said, okay. And it changed his game because he does it. Brunik, as in the clip I played, almost an hour ago now, it doesn't keep his feet moving. That's a huge problem. So he can learn those fundamental things in juniors if he goes back. Also, as I mentioned, going back isn't necessarily about learning a lot. It's about protecting him from being shattered at the NHL level. Don't underestimate that part of the decision-making process. Hear me now, believe me later. Shielding a defenseman from the confidence and soul-crushing results of not quite being ready is a worthwhile reason to send him back. Full stop, okay? I know that part is lost. I'm going to end up spending a week on Twitter explaining it if indeed they send him back to juniors. Okay. Any thoughts on these extensions recently? Teams locking up their young stars with 8-year deals. Nice payday for Logan Cooley. Cooley deserved it. He's a stud. I mean, he was the best player in that draft by a mile. By a mile. I think, as always, when general managers start handing out 8-year contracts, there's always a couple of mistakes. In a year, guys are going, oh no, what did I do? See also Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's now a few years into his deal. Is this the 4th year finally, or is this the 3rd year of his 8-year deal? 2nd year with the Capitals, where the Kings signed it and immediately realized, oh no, we screwed up. I don't know what to tell you about that. I guess it's getting a little bit dark here, but the screen's getting pixelated. Plus, I've also already done an hour, so I've got a ton of questions. Okay, rapid fire round here. Zachary, when Raquel comes back, is it crazy to put him with Kindle? If Hollander continues to fit with Sid, I don't see the harm in boosting your depth. It feels like Kindle is missing a goal scorer. You're right on the last part. Kindle needs some offensive help. I'm hoping for his sake. That is Koivunen. No, I think you keep Raquel with Crosby. Hollander is solid. He's fine. He has to contribute more before you keep him there long term. Hockey 59-34. Raquel is expendable. Anybody but Sidney Crosby is, in fact, expendable. Let's see here. Brandon Richter. Hey, Brandon. My hope is that guys like Bros, Avery Hayes, Rutger McGroarty make it difficult on management near the trade deadline, and that we can make a big hockey trade where we swap a forward, say Rickard Rakell, for a left-handed defenseman. Very possible. Back to Zachary DeRosa. The Pens probably trade depth players in the NHL if they are in the playoffs. Think the group of kids in the AHL are better than the likes of Tomasino, Novak, etc. If you are bad, you need to move on from stars. Interesting sort of take. I think if the Penguins were bad, anybody and everybody can go. Kyle Dubas won't pick and choose who he trades if they're out of the playoffs by, let's call it, February. The Olympic break, if they're out of the playoffs, nobody should be buying green bananas. Brian Gates, checking in from Bonahas in Brazil. Oh, Brian, welcome. Love the coverage, man. Where would you like to see Rutger McGroarty slot upon his return? Where do you think they will play him? I don't think, listen, I don't care where a player plays. I cover the story. I cover the people. And as long as they're cool to me, I'm happy. Where do I think they will play Rutger? He is so good, full 200 feet. We've talked about that part, so I'm not going to belabor it. I think he could be the answer for Ben Kindle. Look, Rutger could play literally either side of center on any of the top 3 lines. He really could. Hey, Dan, this is from Irk3K980. I don't know. I'll take your word. That means something. Hey, Dan, I'm going to be at the Leafs game Monday. Do you think it's possible you can set up a meeting with Crosby? He's been having a rough year, and this would mean a lot to him. I don't know if you're serious or not, Irk. Yeah, sure. Tell you what, don't call us. We'll call you. Zachary says Brunick is such a hard case because I don't see sending him back being beneficial, but he also hasn't shown enough. Hopefully, I've answered all facets of that. Here's IR3K asking, actually, can Crosby meet IR3K's brother? The brother's been having a rough time. Listen, man, you have to go through the Penguins for that sort of stuff. I show up, I interview. That's the end. Let's see here. I think we're going to end on this from Kate. 68-76. The kids make them so much faster. How is it possible for two kids to change the team's speed that much? Is my brain making this up, or is it real? Well, Kate, it's not necessarily the kids. It's everybody. Malkin is faster. Eric Carlson playing faster. Caleb Jones, wicked skater. Getting Brian Rust back certainly helped. Justin Brazeau, sneaky fast. He's big. He doesn't look like he's going fast. And then you realize the ground he's covered. He is quick. Kindle is skating well. And the fourth line, Lazat, Achari, and Connor Dewar are fast as well. So, yeah, you're not imagining it, but it's not just the kids. So that's where I'm going to end it. We're running out of daylight. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hopefully some of those long answers made a little bit of sense with Harry Brunick, the sale, and everything else. In the meantime, I'm actually going to go. It's now 6. I guess I've missed happy hour. There's a little, is it Gambit Brewing here in St. Paul, kind of a bar down below the street. The best lager I've had in North America, anywhere. Have fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this Air France message. Your journey to France begins when you set foot on the plane, starting with a complimentary glass of champagne in every class. Now available in La Première and coming this November in Business Cabin, savor the tastes and flavors of an exclusive menu created by our new Michelin-starred French chef, Daniel Boulou, aboard our flights departing the U.S. Enjoy an exquisite taste of France before you arrive. Bon appétit! Elegance is a journey. Air France.